Live. Welcome everyone to the Accessible e-learning resource training. It's going to be a very fast 30 minutes where I'm going to try to cover as much as possible, covering kind of the pre-K all the way through 12th grade content as we're looking at how to make learning more accessible to our learners. So why accessibility? Studies have shown that students with disabilities that actually use assistive technology tools or the built-in accessibility features that are available to everyone do better in life, higher graduation, they do better in college, and they have higher success rates with jobs. So this provides us an opportunity with this COVID virtual learning opportunity to help kids use some of the tools that they might not have been as willing to use at school. A common reason that kids don't want to use accessibility features is it makes them stand out and different. Well, in the home environment, they can use whatever tool they need, and it's really, it gives them some confidentiality that they might not have in the classroom. The biggest thing that I'm seeing right now with online learning is that there is so much reading. Everything we're posting on Google Classroom, we're posting across the board requires you to have a certain level of reading proficiency to be able to access. We have some kids that are slow readers. We have some kids that have poor decoding skills. And so we have to really look at, is the content, as classroom teachers, as special educators, is the content that's being posted within your assignments, are they accessible to our students? And if that text is not accessible, then you just know that you might have students that can't access. So there are some resources to help. So for our students with special education needs that have reading and writing goals, or for select students on 504 plans, this is our universal tool within DoD. It's called Read and Write. Many of you have probably seen parts of this or might be aware, some might not. But for everybody, there's this tool here called hover speech. And if you can select text on a computer, so if you're using Mac and VIA, if you're using your digital resources, if you can actually highlight and select text, you can go ahead and select this hover speech and it will read aloud. It'll read aloud with highlighting, and it's a nice format. So what I've done here is I've created a GIF that shows what that would look like. You go up to the toolbar, you use the hover speech, and it selects text. If you want to learn more about Read and Write, we have a training portal here. Your special ed teacher would be the local point of contact for you to learn more. I'm seeing this where teachers are using the screenshot tool and they're creating images of text and they're putting it on a Google Slide, a Google Classroom, or a Google Doc. They're putting it someplace where if you cannot select this text, so if I drag my mouse and I'm trying to highlight and copy paste, if you can't select it, that means our screen readers, our tools that our kids use for reading text, doesn't work. Now we do have one workaround, which is this. For those of you that are using Read and Write for Google, it's called a screenshot reader. They actually drag a box around this and it will scan that text and read it aloud, but it's not as accurate. So I know for a lot of us, we're taking a lot of screenshots of things because it's fast and easy, but just know if you're expecting the kids to be able to read it, images aren't readable. Now, we sometimes think that PDFs are readable. If you yes.
Pardon me, I have a couple questions for you. Some folks, and in addition, some folks are saying they're having some audio problems. I'm not, but, and a few other people reported they're not either. But just so you know. Also, okay. There's questions about, is Read and Write add-on? Is it an add-on? Is it available to parents?
It is, yes. So what I'm going to ask is Nair, I'm going to ask that you put those, if you can keep that going in the chat box, and we'll do some Q&A at the very end. But I'm afraid if we stop every time right now, we'll never get through. So yes, it is an extension. It is DoDEA approved, and when the students sign into Chrome, it shows up here as a purple puzzle piece or a puzzle piece. So, and as far as the audio goes, we are recording this. So if you're having a hard time with audio, we will be posting this for you to watch at a later time. So if you are opening up a document, though, or a PDF, and you're getting this statement that we can't find any text in a document, and you see the text, that's letting you know it's like an image. It's not accessible. Kids with reading disabilities can't read if you're in a PDF and you can't select the text. There is a website, though, this ocr.space, that you can upload that file or put a link to that, and it will scan that text for you, and it will now make it where it's selectable. So you see, before I couldn't select anything, now I can, and our read and write will read it aloud. So I'm going to ask, if you're joining us, to make sure you're muting yourselves. Another option we have is Snagit. Snagit is available for our Dodia computers. It is approved. There is an ability to, if we go to, so I want you all right now, if you can, to go to your search bar within if you're on a Dodia computer, and type in Snagit. And if you see the Snagit app, then this is a tool that you can use. And so with Snagit, you can draw a box around text, and it will, like an image of text, and it will actually scan that, convert it into selectable text, then you can paste it into a Google Doc that can be read. So if you have an image, so I'm going to go back up here. So if you have this image, I could drag a box around with Snagit, and it would actually scan this, and then I could paste it into a Google Doc. So there are a couple different ways, by using this website, by using Snagit, where you can grab the text and make it more accessible for students with reading disabilities. Another thing is that use your online curricular resources. You know, the online resources are much more accessible for many of our learners than the paper copies. We can only do so much with paper. But if you're using Benchmark, built-in text-to-speech with human read-alouds, FOSS Science, I can't list all the curriculums because we'd be here the next 2 hours. But Go Math, Social Studies, all of them have built-in abilities to have a lot of the text read aloud. So what you're looking for as a teacher is you're looking for this speaker icon, and you want to make sure you're showing the kids to use the speaker icon. And it's a choice. Some kids might use it, some kids might not, but for our students with disabilities, this is really the way that they're going to have more consistent access to the text. Stories, right now in Dodia, we have to use approved resources. Audible right now is offering a lot of stories for free, professional narrated versions. You can access it from this link. It doesn't require any login at all. So the students don't have to sign in their name or anything. They just go to this website, hit play. There's not a lot of books on there, but I think the more that we can be providing books and materials in accessible formats, the better we are. For students that qualify, and I'm not going to go too deep in this for our general ed folks, but I do want you to be aware. For students with reading disabilities or visual impairments, we have the ability to sign them up for a program called Bookshare. And what Bookshare provides is eBooks, over 800,000 titles that can be read aloud, can be enlarged, that work with all our screen share software or our text-to-speech software. So it really gives us a lot of flexibility for our students with disabilities. Not all kids qualify that are on an IEP, so your special ed teacher would be the point of contact. And special ed folks, if you're listening, if you have any questions, then myself or Nara Hayes would be a point of contact for you. But this works on the computer, works on tablets. It's a great resource to get kids access to text-to-speech or to be able to listen to books. I'm trying to show stuff that we already have. If you look at your Google extensions on your computer, you might have noticed this little rocket ship. That's called the Mercury reader. All that does is it simplifies the web page. It takes out a lot of the extra stuff. It allows you to change the font into something that's a little bit more readable. You can change it to black on white, white on black, change the text size. It's available. All our kids that sign into Google Chrome have this. It doesn't cost anything. It's a choice. So, it helps to let them be aware. For our kids with executive functioning, that are ADHD, they get distracted with stuff. Sometimes things like this can be a help. Making learning visual. So we've talked about students need access to the text, but we also need to be able to see everything that's going on. So one resource to use is within Google Slides, actually, you can turn on captions. And what captions allow is it will use speech recognition, and it will then either at the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen, I can turn them on right now actually, it will start transcribing your spoken words into text. It is not 100% accurate, but it can help for students who might be distracted. This can help with their attention, and it can also help with students who might not be able to hear you very well. They can use the text-to-speech, or not the text-to-speech, the closed captioning to access. If you're making screencasts, you're recording yourself, this is also a nice way to provide an extra layer of accessibility to your videos. If you're narrating a Google slide, you can add these closed captions within that Google slide. Google Meet, we're all using it, you're all on here now. It could be, Google Meet, Zoom, everybody's complaining that this is, our modern day version of a 4-letter word. We're all getting sick of it, but it does have a lot of options for us. One would be to record our sessions, so for kids that aren't there, record it, post it to your Google Classroom, wherever you're going. It allows you to do that. If you're even doing it by yourself, you're new to screencasting, you can record your session within Google Meet. You're the only person there, and it'll make a nice video that'll save to your Google Drive. Has captions are available in Google Meet as well. Share your extra screen. If you're not using it already and you're doing a lot of this virtual learning, virtual teaching, facilitating groups, I encourage you to use 2 screens. Hook up a second monitor, or you can even join your iPad, install Google Meet to your iPad or your iPhone and join the meeting from your device. Make sure you mute the volume on that second device so that you're not getting feedback from the microphones. But it's hard. It's hard to toggle everything on one screen. So use the extra screens if you can. The chat boxes. The nice thing about Google Meet is it does have a chat box, but as soon as you leave that meet, all those chats disappear, which can be a good thing sometimes. But if you're really trying to take notes, and you're like, right in this instance, we're linking to resources and tools, you want to make sure that you either copy those chats to a Google Doc when you finish, or you might consider using Hangouts or Slides Q&A within Google within a Google slideshow. You have a Q&A option, which will actually link up to a different page where students can post. So I'm going to ask everybody to mute if you haven't already. Thank you. So Google Meet has added, I think most of us are aware of this, but I just want to throw it out there, that we've added something called Grid View to our Google Meet classrooms or Google Meet sessions. And what that does is allows you to show everybody on your screen. This has been a game changer. This is awesome. So this allows you to show everybody on your screen at once. And what this does is this allows you to do temperature checks. If you're able to see everybody on your screen, by having a screen like this, you could say, okay, everybody, how exciting was your weekend? How are you feeling about today's assignment? Show me with your fingers. Everybody show me in hands from 0 to 5 how stressed you were doing the homework assignment last week. Or let's do a gauge for understanding. Everybody hold up their fingers. Let me know how well you understood the content that I just covered. Let me know how we're doing on pacing. Am I going way too fast? Give me a 0. If I'm right on track, give me a 5. This allows us the ability to see all the kids in our class at one time and to do some of these things. Another thing that I'm seeing some teachers do is, here we're zooming around, is using a 5-point scale. So same thing. You can see all the kids with that grid view, and you can put in whatever 5-point scale you want, and the kids can show from scale 1 to 5. This allows you to keep them muted, because we're knowing that kids muting and unmuting during your meets can be very problematic. But it allows you to keep them muted, but still get some feedback. Some other resources that we're hearing and seeing is that teachers are having some success teaching kids nonverbals, sign language. Show me, yes or no. Show me, do you need more? if you have a question, raise your hand. If you're excited, give me, sparkles. But there are different ways that you can incorporate some strategies, some nonverbal strategies by using that video. And then if you have that Google Grid view up, you can see everybody and you can get some feedback from your students. And this can really help you as you're gauging your content and your pacing and your understanding of the students. I'm showing this in a lot of my presentations today because everybody wants to know, how can I use Google Meet and show a video with audio? There is a session later on today that will go into some more nuts and bolts about switching audio settings. That does work, but it requires a certain amount of finesse and timing. Sound comes out of your computer like this through speakers down here. The microphone is getting input up here. Sound waves this way, sound waves this way. It doesn't carry well when we're trying to get sound from YouTube over into our microphone. So you either have to have some external devices to capture that sound as it's coming out, or have the speakers pointed towards the microphone. So there's not a lot of good ways at this point to do that. Our students with special needs require some explicit instruction, and I would say that a lot of our students require that as well. And this is from the virtual school. It's just talking about discussion etiquette and etiquette rules, being on a virtual meeting. Having set explicit standards goes a long way for our students, and referencing these standards and making it available for them. So just as we have class rules posted in our room and norms and expectations, having a similar set of rules and expectations can really help some of our students who struggle with impulse control, or struggle with reading the environment, reading the room, reading the people around them. This can be very difficult for some of our students. So give them some cheat sheets, give them some expectations that they can reference. Screencasting. Screencasting is a great way to make things visual. Screencasting, you can record anything on your screen, and if you're using the right screencasting tool, it'll even record the audio. So I can't speak highly enough about using screencasting. Keep it short, keep it fun, keep it focused. I have a link. I've seen some chats coming through quickly. They're saying, hey, can we get some of these resources? I've shared this whole presentation, and within that, I've linked to all these different resources. So if you want to learn more about screencasting tools or different ideas for screencasting, they're here. But this is an amazing opportunity to create information. But some of you might be going, I'm stressed enough. I don't want to make any more videos. We do have a subscription to Discovery Education, which has access to already thousands and thousands of videos. It integrates with a lot of our tools we're already using. You can search for videos by subject and standards. A lot of those videos have captions. So you can, if you're not quite ready to make your own videos, and YouTube is getting a little bit too, there's some great stuff on YouTube, but there's some pretty wacky stuff out there too. Discover Education is kind of more of a vetted and secure way to find some instructional videos. Ed Puzzle. One thing that we're looking at is, so we have a kid watch a video. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody listen? If the child watches a video, does anybody know? Does anybody care? This allows you to track that the student has, yes, watched the video. You can embed questions within the video, and it allows the students can actually create their own video creations where they take a snippet of a video and put in their own question. So you can use it as a teaching tool or as a project-based learning template. This is an amazing resource that I think that was just recently approved through DoDEA, and it's something that I think everybody should really look into. You can create your own videos. You can use Discovery Ed videos, or you can find YouTube videos. You chunk them up into a little section and you say, I'm going to ask a multiple choice. I'm going to ask an open-ended. I'm going to ask a true-false. And the video will actually pause at that point. The questions will come up. The students have to respond, and then the video continues. It integrates with Google Classroom. So this is something to really would be beneficial for our students with special needs, because it forces them to actually have to attend and engage with the video and not just passively watch. GIFs. We have the ability to embed GIFs and GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, within our presentations. And for, again, some of our students, this is a real nice way to just add a little bit of engagement. There are tons of ways to search for GIFs on the internet. We can create our own GIFs by using Snagit. I've put in a couple links how to search for GIFs using Giphy or Google, but this is just a nice way to make things a little bit more engaging. One example of this for some of our younger kids is, I'm going to exit the presentation for a moment, and you can drag these to the side. So this is a first then board that we'd use for a student in preschool. And let me zoom out here. Sorry, I'm getting a lag by running the meeting and recording at the same time. So you can kind of switch these out, keep the pictures out on the side, and then you can switch up what you want to go in these. And I have kind of on the side here on the borders, I have all these different GIFs for the different schedule for the day. So this is a nice one when we're starting out our presentations, or when we're starting out with what's going on. This allows us to do that. So let me go to view. All right, we're going to go back to the presentation. Screenshots. I said earlier, screenshots are bad because they're not accessible, but they also are a terrific way to capture some images on the computer and to capture if there's an error problem or if you're trying to pull content from something. Just know that it's not accessible, but there is a time and place for it. So one tip for a screenshot, everybody practice this. Hold down your Windows button, your Shift, and your S. By doing that at the same time, you will then create a screenshot that you can copy and paste into a presentation. You can put it into a PowerPoint. Oops, sorry, wrong button there. But this is just a nice way to capture something. If you're trying to capture something on a web page, this is just an easy way to do those screenshots. So that is a shortcut for you to remember. Windows, Shift, and S. It'll save it to your little snippet section, and then you can copy and paste it or save it into something else. Graphic organizers. A lot of our kids do better when they see things in an organized format. So what I've done is I've curated a list of a lot of different graphic organizers that work well with Google Slides and Google Drawings. Make sure also within your curriculum, there's kind of some pre-approved, the Top Hats, and there's some recommended graphic organizers there too, but consider how you might take some of those and use those within Google Slides or Google Form to make that easier as you're presenting or as the students are completing work, to give them some graphic organizers to get their work done. Virtual manipulatives are great. As we're doing this e-learning, sharing our screen, there are some really nice math manipulatives, virtual dice, all sorts of stuff out there that allow us to make learning a little bit more virtual. We cannot share our mouse within Google Meet, so you have to still be in control, but that's okay. The students need to use their words to tell you what they need to do. But there's a lot on there, and I've put links to different manipulatives. I know a lot of the headquarters websites and the resources they're putting out have linked to a lot of different websites with different virtual manipulatives. But these are great ways to, either through a screen recording or through your Google Meets, to make things a little bit more visual. As we're talking about interaction, we want to make sure that we're giving people opportunities to engage. If I had to recommend one thing for you to kind of explore today on your own, and this just was released, I want to say last week by Dodia, we were given approval to use Pear Deck for Google Slides. And Pear Deck allows you to embed different slides into your presentation, and you are then able to, the students then log into a Pear Deck, and they will get you'll see a presentation like this, a slide like this. It'll prompt them to draw two types of things they know about today's topics. They actually draw on their screen, and within your Pear Deck, you can see what all your kids have drawn. So that can be like the introduction. What do we know about accessible text? I want you to draw what you know about accessibility, and then I could see what everybody drew, and I could then get a gauge of what our knowledge was. I could use something like this. How was our homework assignment? So all the kids drag this little button over here to, yes, it was good, no, it was bad. They have that on their screen, they draw it, and I can actually see it in real time, all the kids in my class, that, oh, they all went to the thumbs down. Maybe we need to spend a little bit of time today going over the homework assignment. Or if they're all thumbs up, then we're moving on. We can start a mind map so the kids can start inputting ideas. What are some different ways we might use Pear Deck? we could all start typing in ideas here, and then I could see all the different ideas that the class presented, and we could organize them. So again, it's a neat way that what I've been hearing is we want to get more interaction within our Google Meets. This is by using Pear Deck, you can gauge that. You can increase the ability for students to respond. So, how many of you think that accessible text is important? I could have, I could then check and see where all would agree, or maybe there's a few disagrees, and we could talk about it that way. So, has a reflection activity. So for the younger kids, they can draw in, they can circle, they can, there's a lot of different ways. We can listen to a story, they have to draw a picture. And these are pre-made, you can create your own. I was just showing the template. So here's one, labeling the clock. What are methods of persuasion? So it's A, B, or C. Translation. And I was just using some of the pre-made ones. There's even some flashcards. This is recently, how well did you like the lesson? So these are some pre-made templates within Pear Deck. Basically what you do is you send a link and a code to the Pear Deck that the students would then open, and then they see your presentation and all these interactive components they mark, and then you're on your Pear Deck slide and you can see everything. So if you're doing self-learning today, Pear Deck is something I would definitely recommend looking into. There's some nice training modules on their website for that. Another thing that we've seen some teachers using is, these interactive websites where you can input all the students' names. So you're drawing, or you can do different question starters, just different interactive things. You spin it. And just, again, it's gimmicky, I won't lie, but it's just ways to kind of make things a little bit more, different questions for that we want the students to respond to, things like that. JamBoard, there's a couple sessions on JamBoard today. If you liked whiteboards in your classroom where kids wrote their answers, if you want to have some engagement, you can have multiple people on a shared whiteboard at the same time. It does, there are a lot of neat things that could be explored with this, and I'm just going to say that if you're interested in learning more about JamBoard, I think there are a few different sessions today, but this is, again, it's part of the Google Suite, and it just allows you to have these shared whiteboards that people can access remotely. So we're running out of time here. Students are struggling with showing and demonstrating their understanding. Seesaw is something that is, I'm just going to speak briefly. It was given kind of preliminary approval. It's kind of in limbo right now. I'm just going to say that it has a lot of accessibility features that as an AT professional I appreciate, and that the students can use pictures, drawings, they can record their own videos to demonstrate their understanding. It allows you to create a digital portfolio. I'm going to be doing a session on Seesaw later today if you're interested. There's some great professional development trainings here as well. But this is we're looking at accessibility. Teachers can embed videos, they can embed audio, they can embed some interactive components. There's just a lot of nice accessibility features in Seesaw that allow students to create work and teachers to make work a little bit more content, more accessible for some learners. Primarily, I've seen use in K-5, but I do think middle schools and high schools that are doing digital portfolios might see a benefit to this as well. If students are struggling with the amount of writing and they're really good at speaking, but they're not quite, their voice recognition, their speech recognition isn't going very well, they can use something like this online voice recorder, and they can record their responses and then send you the links to it or send you the file. I do encourage, if you're having kids use voice recorders, or there's even a video recorder where you just go to this website, no sign in required, you hit record, and it just records a video of you. It downloads then to your computer, and then you can upload it. If you're having students use videos, if you're having students use audio, just from experience myself, make sure you are giving them a limit, like no more than 1 minute, no more than 2 minutes, because if you, as a teacher, having to go through 10-minute videos for 20 kids, there's just not enough time in the day. But it does allow students options to demonstrate what they know using their voice or video. Using that read and write tool again, we do have options for speech recognition, word prediction. Just by using a computer, they have spelling and grammar support. Typing, special ed folks, if your kids are slow typers, get them typing during this virtual training, during this COVID crisis. It's a great time for them to work on some of those skills. We talked about audio notes. Have them do a screencast. Have them record something that they've done on their computer screen for you to watch. And then they can also draw using different tools. So this is another tool that I would recommend for our middle school and high school especially. Really look into. It's called Cayenza. It just was approved about a week ago. We really haven't had time to really play with it a lot, but it's been around for a while. It allows you to record your voice notes within a Google Doc to give feedback. It allows you to embed different rubrics. It allows you to link, like if kids keep making mistakes with the use of there, and there, you can have a little link to a little video, and it gives you shortcuts. So you can put all these this feedback directly into that student's Google Doc, and then they can even respond back with audio. Because we know with students with special needs, they need a lot of support with their writing, and they need it sooner rather than later. So this is a real nice way to give feedback for Google Docs. It is approved now through DoDEA. It's an add-on. We don't have a lot of time in this session to go over it, but I'm hoping that as we keep learning through professional learning, that this will be something we'll explore in greater detail. General tips, your last couple hacks for the day. If you type in doc and new, doc.new, so I'm going to do that right now. Here. I'm going to go to escape, and I'm going to go to my toolbar here, and if I type in doc.new, it's going to automatically open up a new Google Doc for me. If I type in slides.new, it's going to open up a new Google slide for me. If I type in sheets.new. So for a lot of our kids, the process of going to 10 different places and to open up a file or to create a new file, these are just shortcuts. So if you just type this into your web browser, docs.new, it opens up a new doc. Slide.new, opens up a new slide. Form.new, keep.new. So these are just shortcuts that you use in your toolbar to quickly open up files. Our kids with special needs get lost with all the due dates and everything. So just as a ask, post in your Google Classroom over and over again. Make your calendars with the due dates available. Send reminders, but put them in your digital learning plans. But we're hearing a lot that our kids with special needs are just struggling to understand what needs to be done and when, and the parents are too. So I think the more we can cross-post due dates, the more it is appreciated. And the last tip for today is that with internet connectivity sometimes an issue, there are ways within Google Drive to make resources available offline. And so to make offline available on a phone or on your computer, these are the steps to do that. So you don't need an internet connection to actually access commonly used files. And so that can sometimes help when bandwidth is an issue. So these are just some tips and strategies that I hope you find useful. And as you are considering moving forward with accessible learning, that this can add some ways for you to present information, for how students present their information, and to make things a little bit more engaging for everybody involved. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry I went 3 minutes over. I'm going to stick around for the next 12 minutes for any Q&A, and I know Nara has been gracious and has been doing a lot on the chat box. So thank you. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now, and enjoy the rest of your professional development day.